Okay, guys, it's time to start. Our next talk is called Screaming into the Void, All E-Signatures in the World Are Broken by Kirils. Enjoy it.
Thank you. So I'll start with a little bit about myself. I do a lot of different things. I don't only hack, I also run business and I do some science, and I actually have a scientific position back in Latvia, where I'm from. So last 1.5 days I was trying to set up the Flipper development toolkit to be able to compile Flipper modules, so I do like to hack. This presentation here is a result of me hacking in my kinda free time. You can find the slides on Kirils.org. You also have recordings there. You can find the slides of other presentations that I do. I think this is my 5th presentation since beginning of the global pandemic. The first presentation that I didn't do because of the pandemic was going to be called Travel for Hackers, like how to travel the world. True story. I had it almost ready and everything, and now we have that. So I'm gonna tell a little bit about related and other interesting research that's been going on. So in 2017, many of you may remember that Google published the vulnerability that they called Shattered. Basically, they finally proved that SHA-1 is broken, and you can actually do some nasty stuff with it if you have many millions or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. But those that actually looked at their published research noticed that you can reuse the research without spending any significant amount of computing power and create any random 2 documents with the same SHA checksum. So in 2017, I presented a vulnerability to our national body that is responsible for managing e-signatures. I created 2 different documents, both signed, and then I asked them to sign one document and was able to change the content without breaking the signature. But that's a different story. This vulnerability here is a completely different vulnerability that I'm going to talk about today. One more project I'd like to mention, and and this is part of my academic work. We're gonna see presentations coming out probably beginning of next year. It's wearable security, so we are researching the different emanations that come from different wearable devices, pacemakers, headphones, watches, stuff like that. Really quite a wide project, lots of stuff happening. So let's get on with it. We're going to talk about who can fix the problem, and that's kind of the big part here. It's not easily fixable. But before that, we're gonna talk about the digital signatures as they stand, how they work. Not all of you are probably aware. How people perceive content, which is an important part of this vulnerability here. The attacks. So I managed to recreate, I'm using the term recreate here, 3 different attacks. The disclosure process, which was, as it always is, super fun, and what's next, and how to actually try to fix this. So I use the term rediscover or recreate here because the basic attack was actually independently discovered, I think, more than 10 years ago, way before e-signatures were like a government thing. GPG we've had for some time. We can sign documents, we can sign emails, right? But the governments weren't really interested. It wasn't a tool that the general public would use. Now, since 2020, general public loves, they have a love-hate relationship with signing electronic documents, but they do have to sign electronic documents. So it's a big deal. Now, one of the essential functions of digital signatures is to guarantee the integrity of signed data. That's basically the whole thing. If we have a paper signature, we have a document, we scribble something, and then experts can take a look at if the scribble is real or not. And if you have tried to paste some paper over the words, in the document, right? For digital signature, it's kind of similar. So the question is if the actual document that you have signed is the same document that you are verifying. And here's a nice schematic from frewa.com on how that works. If we were to use the cryptographic functions to actually sign the document, we would double the document in size. So what we actually do is we sign the hash of the document, and this is how shattered vulnerability worked. We could create two different documents with the same hash. Now here we are attacking one step earlier. We are attacking the actual data, and we are attacking the human perception of that. Now let me quickly finish about the signature process. So we take the data, we hash it, then we do some cryptographic magic. We basically encrypt the hash, and that's our signature. That's our digitally signed document. So we have the original document, the hash, and the encrypted hash. For verification, someone takes the document. It's not encrypted. The document is not. Takes the encrypted hash, also known as signature, and tries to use asymmetric cryptography using your public key to see if what will it decrypt to, and then hashes the original data. You can see it on the right here, right? So we have encrypted stuff. They use your public key, and then they try to match if the decrypted stuff matches the hash of the data you gave to them. It's quite easy like that. Now, but we are attacking right here. There is no cryptography attack here, just some magic before hashing. Now, EU, I believe, well, I am from EU myself, but I believe that I can objectively say that EU is on the forefront of digital signature standardization. EU loves standards. So we have a PDF, which is, I don't believe, an EU invention. I think it has to do with Adobe. So you can actually have a PDF that's still a PDF, and then it's hashed and it's signed, and it's still a PDF in the end. I hate it, but it's legit. It works. It's considered legal, even though the official advice from Latvian government for Linux users is when you want to verify your PDFs. Then we have ASICA format, or however you want to pronounce it. This is the official EU format, and it's a container. It's a compound file, so similar to docx, for example, right? You can. What that basically means in layman's terms is, in these examples, you can rename the file to .zip and extract it and take a look at what's inside, which is what we can do at one point. Then we have edoc, which is a Latvian standard. It's a bit different on how the XML inside the container works, but basically the same thing. So you have a zip file with the document you're signing and some crypto magic that we talked about earlier. All these three formats and any other format that I'm aware of so far is a digital file, obviously, and they sign the bits, and that is the critical part here. They don't sign the document as humans perceive it, right? So humans perceive a page, it may be landscape, like in this case, with some letters on it that makes sense, right? If I were to sign this document digitally, and by the way, ASICA and edoc both allow and actually require the implementations to allow to sign whatever you want. I can sign .mp3, I can sign .iso, I can sign my hard drive image. And it's in the specification, and as we're going to see at the end of the presentation, it's part of the problem here. So let's talk about dynamic content now. Now, when I say dynamic content, what I mean is bits of the file do not change at all, but the representation does. So what the human sees will change. Here's the GIF file. It's a green square, right? Even though it's in the presentation, believe me, it's a simple GIF file. I can show it to you later, and suddenly it's yellow. Bits didn't change. It just has 2 frames. So if I were to sign this GIF file, and if I were to set the timer for the second frame from 20 seconds to, let's say, 20,000 seconds, and if I were to add text to frame 1 and to frame 2, what will I sign if I sign that GIF file? both, right? But why will I know that I signed both? That is the real question here. Now, signing GIF files isn't cool. Like lawyers do not. I mean, I haven't tried it, to be fair. That could be a thing. Like, yeah, but or SVG. But lawyers prefer documents. So luckily for us, we have object linking and embedding, which is a mechanism that allows documents to include links to other documents or embed other documents within the document. My first personal connection experience with OLE was when I was in school, and we had to add a spreadsheet within a Word document. So we had a Word document, but we had to have a spreadsheet that allows you to calculate stuff, and that's basically Excel in Word, which is one kind of OLE document. Now, this mechanism makes it possible to include content whose representation depends on a variety of criteria. Now, how many of you would know how to make an Excel file that shows you a random number when you open it? Okay, about 15% of the audience, yeah? So you see where I'm going with this, right? When we talk about .6 or actually even ODT, the open format, there are also such things as static object pre-renders, which means that if you have a dumb viewer, well, old legacy viewer, let's call it correctly legacy viewer, and it doesn't know how to deal with all the objects, the standard requires you to include an image of how that all object should look approximately if it's fully rendered. Now, interestingly enough, of course, you can change the pre-render after you create the file, so it looks differently. And most importantly, remote content. Now, emails with remote content have been accepted as part of the culture for, well, not the hacker culture, but the corporate culture for the past 20 years. You have the tracking pixels and all that. So I'm thinking I could convince someone to actually be able to open a document that has remote content in it, because there is, once again, a mechanism to allow you to do that. Now, this is just for classic document formats. Remember that EU mandates you to be able to sign your ISO file as well. Or ELF file, right? What happens if you sign ELF file? Shit. Okay, let's look at a small demo here now. So this is a GIF as promised. See, it's 613 byte. It's real. I'm gonna just put it in the corner so you can see that I'm not lying, in case none of you have seen GIFs and how they work, or GIFs, whatever floats your boat. So I have a couple edoc files here. Oh, the delay is terrible on the mouse. I'm going to open it with the official reader that our government uses. Oh, I need internet for that to validate, because it also, even though it can happen offline, it also checks the verification of signatures. I hope mine isn't revoked yet. Oh, the GIF is yellow. I'm going to remove it to clear up screen state. So here it is. That's a document here. And fun thing about the official Latvian reader is that if you open the document and it displays who signed it and this blue thingy here, that doesn't mean that the signature has not been tampered with. You have to press the validate button and then it changes into green or red. A bunch of users fall for that all the time. So this is green. It's valid. What it says here in pretty clear Latvian is that guy A agrees to pay guy B 0 thousands of euros, right? So Peteris Jānis, so Peter John, right? Peter agrees to pay John. That's what it says here, right? Okay. Now, if I were to, let's say, extract the docx file from here, no idea how to do that. Export attachment. I usually just open the zip files. Permission denied. Okay, okay. Let me clear up some, okay, there we go. Let's try again. So remember, it was Peter owes John. Okay, there we go. Now, let's open up this docx file. And by the way, I could have made it nicer, of course, right? The fonts are, you know, suspicious. There we go. right? The box is suspicious. It's a matter of design. I didn't want anyone to fall for it. So, and here it says John agrees to pay Peter. Let's open it again. Again, John agrees to pay Peter. Okay, let's open it one more time. Peter agrees to pay John, right? That's a document. So who's right? I don't know. Now, I have some more examples here. Let's see. Oh, we have this static pre-render thingy. That's even more fun. So I'm going to once again open this with a signing thingy. We're going to press validate just so that everyone's happy. And take a look at this. Oh, it's valid. Okay. If I load the preview, it says that this, so second line, it basically says this document has been opened with e-signer, e-parkstītājs, yeah? This is the program document has been opened for. It knows how you open it, right? If we extract it once again from here, export attachment, bam. Where's my folder? And there it is. Okay. We open that. It says this document has been opened normally. And it will say it every time. It's not a randomized entry here. So this is the preview attack, right? The pre-render attack. The e-document signer is a dumb piece of software, so it just loads whatever I put in there. Now, but I'm gonna, let's see, do I have more demos? Oh, it's gone. I probably do, but I'm gonna return to that in a moment. Let's talk a bit about consequences. Now, this was cool. This one more demo. I don't want to show it because this I believe is actually the most problematic ones. By the way, responsible disclosure has been finished. It's done. I can talk about that, right? I just feel like maybe it's not such a good idea. This one here, when you open this document, it shows your IP address on the screen, and it shows how many times the document has been opened. So, by the way, this attack also works with GPG. Of course, any of the attacks work with GPG because e-signatures are e-signatures. Doesn't matter if your government puts their additional trust in them or not. But this attack also works with LibreOffice file formats. And all of the attacks, once again, also work with built-in signatures of LibreOffice. Now, yes, yes. So, the real question here is, and this is part of my responsible disclosure journey, does it really matter? Do these attacks really matter? Because when talking to people that are responsible, potentially would be responsible for fixing this, one of them pointed out, hey, this is not new. This has been published on some obscure mailing list 15 years ago. So I wondered, what has changed? Maybe it doesn't matter, right? Probably doesn't matter. Maybe the administrative controls will take care of risks, right? There's fraud with paper signatures too. You could, for example, forensically examine the signed document, and in the document you would see the suspicious randomizations, right? It would be apparent the document has been tampered with. You would be probably prosecuted if the document is of any financial value, right? If you were trying to defraud your business partner or something. Now, therefore, the research. So I discovered this I think end of 2020, and we started really got everyone around the table about a bit more than a year ago, mid 2021. And we talked to the national CERT, we talked to the national government, the organizations responsible for signature safety, and we talked and we talked. Some of the partners tried bringing some other European partners on board. And the response we got is that most of the other European countries do not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. Like, we started feeling like maybe it does really matter, maybe no one just knows how to fix it. Now we decided to push forward. What if we could make a document that appeared 100% legit? If forensic examination can't directly prove any malice. remote content, right? Because we have remote content in emails. It would make sense that someone somewhere, right, exports an email to a PDF or saves it as a doc, and it just works. So why not? And then we realized, after talking with all the parties in here, it cannot be solved technologically. There's nothing you can do as a, say, programmer or a systems designer to solve the problem. It also can't be solved politically. We felt like it needs both. So European Union really likes their regulations, and if it says you can sign ISOs and ELF files, you have to be able to sign ISOs and ELF files. But we believe the problem is the technological implementation of the political will here. Somehow, someone, or probably a group of smart people somewhere in the EU decided, well, personally I think they didn't decide that, they just overlooked the fact that we do not want to sign bits when we sign documents. We want to sign representation of what we see, which is the solution that we were proposing. But once again, the partners didn't want to touch that was a 10-foot pole. So now my personal challenge and personal vendetta, if you will, is just go to as many conferences as possible, as wide as possible, and talk about this, so someone finally, want to fix this problem. Now, for the Q&A, I usually end with this. If you feel like I'm wrong, this is one of those talks where a question that is more like of an opinion is okay. Just say it. If you feel like there is more we can do, I'd love to hear it. Thank you.
Yes, here. Thank you. I think you're completely correct that this is broken, and also that everybody is correct that we say won't fix until it's really on fire. So I'm in all favor of setting it completely on fire. Do dynamic medicine receipts that you can multiple times use, all this kind of shit that will get you in a shit ton of legal trouble. But yes, as you can prove that you didn't personally profit from it, then I think it might be doable.
Okay, thank you. And you can join in, right? This is quite easy. I didn't show you the technical steps, but if you look at the formats, it's quite easy. While the Q&A goes forth, I'm going to put up the technical part on, so you can participate, so you can partake. Any more questions?
Yes, Kai, thank you for your presentation, and it's a good one, especially with the GIF, changing GIF, right? But we tend to think, we here, like computer users, and we tend to think as computers, but this ultimately comes to court and to people, and to their decision. And I guess these are rare cases. How many times you saw someone trying to pursue someone else to, changing GIF, right? So practically this is possible, but I think no one really uses it, and that's why no one tackles it, because this is not real concern yet, because ultimately it comes to some court, it comes to some judge, and and then that judge asks himself, who would even sign, changing GIF, and what was the intent of the person, pursuing other person signing this GIF, right? So I think this is the people problem and not the computer problem. And we too often think as computers. That's the thing. I myself included, right? But finally, I just decided that this is something that people should deal with, not computers, right?
No, that's a fair point, right? And I completely agree that this is a hole that we often fall into as computer scientists. Now here, I do have an answer to that for remote content. That is why I find remote content more difficult, right? I might say we want to be able to control when our document is opened, right? We want to be able to see how many times it has been opened. And it is a valid, I mean, I haven't gone to court about that, but I feel it's a valid purpose, seeing how tracking pixels are completely legal everywhere.
Yeah, I agree with this guy that told you that we should set it on fire. So when it, like really starts being on fire, people will deal with it. That I'm sure of. But right now it's not.
Agreed. So here's the technical thing, right? Those of you who were following the screen, I opened up the .skis file. It had this all object in there, and there's a formula. That's how it works basically, right? And in a second, I'm also going to show you the pre-rendered part.
Yeah, for this attack will still work, but for websites, we have since years and days that you include the hash of the object you're downloading. So it's not about the content, but at least it's verified content. Oh, so you cannot change the IP address, and so including a hash again including a hash from the audio object and from the images and videos inside your nested document would solve that a little bit. Not everybody does that, and it's very easy to be attackable. That's correct, but in websites they found this already and solved it a little bit in web design.
Nice. I haven't thought about that. That's really good. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the pre-render, right? It's just an image.emf, some I guess it's some old Windows format, and that's what it does. And one could theoretically or practically go in here and replace it and put it back in the archive.
And maybe to add to the previous one, something like IPFS or content-based addressing could also help with combating remote content being dynamic.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yes, first of all, IPFS should burn for very other reasons. But apart from that, yes, I'm looking at you, Cloudflare. Apart from that, the only thing you know with remote content that the content is the same. But as with JavaScript, I'm very well including a bad library. It's still going to execute the bad library. So if it's dynamic content, if it's dynamic HTML, or whatever a GIF, what you do remotely, the perceived problem still exists. So it will not solve that problem.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Yep.
Yeah, I have a question actually about the signing of the perceived document. So would that kind of entail that you render it to PNG or something relatively easy to interpret and then sign those as well?
Enjoy doing that with
ISO. Yes. I was going more for BMP, which has less bugs than PNG. But yes.
Okay.
And if I didn't really cover the political solution part here, I feel like ability to sign MP3s is probably necessary to some people in some rare cases. So we should have that. But for digital signatures, for documents, we should have a separate standard that does what we talked about just now.
Yeah, but this comes all from the CADES standard, CADES, where they extended it to XADES with the X for documents and the PADES for PDF. So that's where the standard comes from. It's just standard RFCs in the end.
Yeah.
And then we include timestamping, which is another hellhole in itself.
Are you saying the way to approach this is we should write a new RFC and then the government will take it over?
Okay, I think we don't have any other questions, so thank you everyone for attending.